Hello and welcome from Nearly Enough Dice at Compulsion 2012 once again. And in front of me, I have a rather famous gentleman who's going to tell us all about himself and exactly what he does. You can see he loves the fame. He loves it. I'm going to get his autograph.
Describe myself as famous.
How about you tell yourself, everyone, who you are and what you have been up to this compulsion?
My name's Orev Deniker. I have been running the Steampunk LARP on Saturday, and I also DJ'd the Steampunk Disco last night, which was, by all accounts, something of a success.
Congratulations. So why don't you give us a little bit of okay, a steampunk. Imagine all the LARPers out there who are listening to this are kind of going, a LARP? That's a convention, but that will take days. How?
A quick and dirty homebrew character generation system and a lot of caffeine.
Yes, yes. I think caffeine was required during this entire process.
One thing I found the convention LARP, having done it myself, was there's an aspect that very often you show up, you get handed a pre-generated character, and it's something I really wanted to avoid. Because one of the great things for me about LARP is the ability to play a character of your own devising. So the way that the Vern system is designed is you have a class and two skill picks, and the skill picks then give you further skills. But it's basically a case if you pick two of them, or you double buy the first, and you get a bunch of skills that you can then tailor to whatever character you're constantly showing up. So whether you've shown up as an aviator, as an inventor, as a mechanic, as a noble with fat sacks of cash, whatever you want to play, the 10 different skill builds should give you at least a good insight as to what your character can do. And I managed to do character gen for 20 people in less than half an hour, which most LARPers will kind of go, wow, that's ridiculous, but it worked. I'm very pleased that it did, because I was very concerned that it was going to get ridiculously complicated very quickly, but it seems to have all gone off far better than I actually deserve it to have gone, really.
Awesome, really well done. So why not, for those who unfortunately missed the LARP, sad pandas, all of us, then why don't you give them a kind of rough feel of what the LARP was about? What was the storyline?
The LARP was called Murder on the Spirit of Victoria. The Spirit of Victoria being an airship, because steampunk LARP, confined space, can't go anywhere, got to be an airship. Basically, the ambassador to the Confederate States of America was travelling from Edinburgh to London, and over the course of the night had been murdered. Everybody wakes up to be told the guy's been murdered. You're landing in London in 3 hours. We need to solve the problem and find out who the murderer was before they get to London. Otherwise, scandal. Everything will go horribly wrong for everybody. The proles, the lower classes, will probably just end up in a workhouse to be on the safe side. The nobles, there'll be massive scandal. The businessmen, they're impacted. There's consequences for everybody if they don't solve it in the time frame, which is the 3 hour limit of the LARP game. Of course, the initial twist was I took everybody off individually at the start of the game. I basically said, briefed everybody. I'm going to take everybody off. I'm going to tell I'm going to tell the person who the murderer is, who they are, and obviously I'm going to take everybody away, because otherwise I'll just take one person. It'll be really obvious. Twist being, everybody got told they were the murderer. They'd all been dosed during the night with a hallucinogenic gas that caused, the very sort of Batman Scarecrow kind of feel, that caused them to commit the murder. So as the guys, all the people with the investigative skills were sort of looking at this and going, well, hang on a minute, the information that we have doesn't tally with a single attacker. So they were all sort of slowly working out. I think my favourite moment of the entire game was about 2/3 of the way through, when the lead investigator went, right, I'm going to try something, and stood up and got everybody to put their hands up if they'd had a weird dream the night before, and then slowly worked back to what they'd worked through, and eventually realised that everybody was responsible. And then at that point, the game sort of changed gears. The one sort of character who was in league with the mastermind who'd done the whole plan, sort of went, right, okay, they know what's happened. We're up a certain creek. Now we're just going to attack. And so we had planes attacking the airship, we had the mechanic characters trying to fix the engines, we had the combat characters fighting off waves of boarding parties. Everybody got something that they could do for their individual skill sets, and everybody went away smiling. So it went far better than I feel I had any right to expect it to, given it was the first LARP I've ever run at a con, and everyone seems to be really happy with it. So
Brilliant. Well, what more can you really ask for then?
I probably can't answer that on a PG-13 podcast.
Good thing we're an adult podcast. But anyway, moving swiftly on. So obviously, I'm guessing you've LARPed before. What LARPs have you? Do you run other LARPs, or is this the first one you've really ran?
I have run LARP events before, both for my local system. I'm currently in the midst of writing a game for Stargate LARP UK, which will be held on the last weekend in July. I'm writing that with my fiance. I've done big weekend events for my local system, which is the Cuckoo's Nest in Glasgow. That's www.thecuckoosnest.co.uk for anyone who's interested. And I do tabletop games. I run tabletop on a weekly basis, so I kind of figured it couldn't be that hard. But the problem I really encountered was that most of the LARP systems that I play in are very complex, and they're designed for ongoing progression and greatly differential characters, and that doesn't really work in a LARP game. So basically, I've massively simplified and took inspiration from a number of systems to sort of pull the Vern rule set together from that.
So I guess the biggest thing was, how many people ended up attending the Steampunk LARP? Do you have a rough number?
Rough count, not counting crew, was 20. Um, I know that because one of the players asked me how many times did the guy get stabbed, and I had to go and do a head count to work that out. So yeah, 20 players plus 2 permanent monster crew and a couple of blue shirts as well showed up at the end to help out.
Right, brilliant. So, if do you have any plans of running more con LARPs, or is this something that now you're starting to think, yeah, this is a great idea?
Ask me in a week when I've actually recovered. No, I would do it again. I'm very pleased with how it went. I think Vern has a couple of holes which I can now plug, having played them. Um, Now that I have the system fully revised and written, it means that if people pre-register, people who pre-registered for the game got additional benefits for their characters. They got an additional skill point to spend anywhere they wanted. For future LARPs, if I run it again at Compulsion next year, which I would hope to do, I would allow pre-registered characters to sit. All the pre-reg guys would get the rule set sent out to them, so they could build their characters in advance, discuss it with me if they had. Like, there was one thing that I actually felt really kind of bad for. One of the girls who came to play said, "Look, I've got this rocket pack Fizzeret, but it's kind of bulky. Should I bring it?" And unfortunately, the other girl who was helping run it, Gwen, who's one of the con organisers, she fielded that email while I was away at another event. Um, Before I'd actually finalised everything in the system, I hadn't written the inventor skill, and actually as a result, the inventor skill got added into the game because, like, well, if you've got a cool prop that doesn't necessarily codify anything in the system, I had a skill called, which was basically allowed me to go, you have built this thing, it's a one-off, it does this. And I felt really bad for her because she showed up and there were other people that got that in advance, but she showed up without this cool prop she'd built. But in the end of the day, she had a really good time. She played something different instead. She played a thief, and actually had most people. She was the one who really sort of got into it. So yeah, I think that in general, yes, I would run it again. There are things I would do differently, but isn't that always the way with these kind of things? And yeah, if Compulsion will have me back, I will happily come back.
Okay, so you also said that you DJ'd the Steampunk Disco, so I'm guessing you have some DJ experience there?
Yeah, no, I do a weekly radio show, which is actually how I got into doing this in the first place. I do a weekly radio show online. It's an online radio station called The Look 24/7. http://thelook247.com. Every Thursday night from 9 till 1 in the morning. And I do 4 hours of nothing but requests, which has become an ongoing thing with my regular listeners to find me really obscure stuff, really interesting and new bands to play. There's a common ones that get requested a lot, but generally it's a case of, whatever you want to play, whatever you want to hear, I will play it. There's no playlist, there's no kind of pre-designed, I must play these tracks, there's no kind of advertising things or anything like that. And the Steampunk Disco was kind of some of the con organisers knew that I did this. They were, we need a DJ. Do you have any actual live DJ experience? And actually done live DJing before, and that's how I got into the radio show in the first place. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Do you have an internet connection? The TV building does. It's got a wireless network. So I basically plugged my laptop into that, and whenever anybody requested anything that I didn't have, I just went on to a library that I have access to online through the radio station and pulled it off that.
Brilliant.
So it just meant that we ended up playing bizarre covers, like Tia's cover of The Wild Rover got played. Obviously, it's a Steampunk Disco, quite a bit of Abney Park. Lots of sort of. We ended up having sort of weird kind of three-way battle between 3 groups. Because we had one group of guys with kind of glow sticks and raves, and one of the things like, sort of upbeat raves, and for some reason Flash Gordon by Queen. And we had the cheesy pop crowd who wanted sort of party stuff like the Time Warp, and then we had the sort of hardcore geeky music crowd that wanted Abney Park and Professor Elemental and all that kind of steampunk geeky music. But it was great because you ended up by trying to sort of balance them all out. And as I say, the con organisers sort of pulled me aside this morning, and they were very very happy with how it had gone. So normally the disco is a bit of, it's there because we want to have something on in the evening when people aren't gaming, but we don't necessarily get a huge turnout for it, and you kept people, kept a good crowd there for most of the night. So I was very happy with how it's gone. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Something bad has to happen soon.
That's not necessarily true. It sounds like you've had a really successful event.
I would say so. As I say, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Something bad's got to happen because the universe is never normally this nice to me.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. We really look forward to seeing your LARP next year. We'll try and get some more video of it. For those who are interested, we do have some videos of the Steampunk LARP. We will be getting those online. But thank you very much for talking to us today, and we look forward to hearing more about you soon.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.